Hi all, welcome to my channel. This is Martha with Bird and Barn Designs, and today I'm going to be bringing you a guest design team project for Esme at Crafty Me Shop. And if you're not familiar with Esme and her shop, she has a group on Facebook called Crafty Me Shop, and she does sales in the group, and she brings you all of the goodies we love to create with the beautiful laces and trims and embellishments. And recently I was blessed to be asked to be a guest design team member, and I was so thrilled because designing for Esme has been my dream. So she sent me this beautiful box, and I did do an unboxing video, which I will link in the description box below. If you missed, you can go back and watch if you're interested. But it was a box just filled with all of these beautiful laces and trims that I used to design my project. And after designing the project, this was everything that was left. So I have 2 other projects in the works, and my month got away from me. I didn't get to complete them, so you'll see those within the next several weeks coming up. But I'm really excited about those as well. So let's take a look at what I did. As I said, I was so excited because this has been my dream to design for Esme's shop. So I wanted to do something very special. So I came up with this vintage inspired sewing ephemera book. And I just absolutely am thrilled with the way it turned out. I had a little tough time deciding what I wanted to do first. And once I got going, I just couldn't stop playing with all the luscious laces. So almost everything you'll see in here is Esme's. There's only 2 little pieces which I'll point out that were out of my stash. And I began with some vintage fabric. This was a a skirt panel, a piece of vintage satin, and the skirt panel was really beautiful, and I thought that would make a lovely cover. I wanted it to be a soft, just luscious, soft book, and it turned out just so dreamy. I just love it. So I topped it with this beautiful lace that Esme sent, and it's really a pretty soft lace, and I didn't like it flat against this. It just wasn't showing up as I wanted it to, so I did a box pleat all the way around, and I think it turned out really pretty. And then on the bottom I layered several laces. So that one is so beautiful. Put a little trim there. This one was really wide. It was scalloped up and down, and then I layered it over this beautiful ruffly lace, which I absolutely love, and then put that trim along the seam where I seamed it. All of the pages had been sewn. They have not been glued. So this was one of the trims out of my stash, and I just needed something in a few places that added just a little bit of texture but not too much, so that was one of them. And then for the spine, I didn't want to see the stitching down the side, so I used a piece of this beautiful floral trim that she had in the box, and I think it turned out so lovely. I love the floral motif with the flowers on the skirt panel. I think it turned out so pretty. And then on the front, I layered an applique that Esme had in the box over this pretty lace to just kind of corner it there. And I took a little piece of seam binding out of my stash and just tied a little bow and put a little dangly pearl there. And then this piece was out of my stash, this little pearl piece. But I thought it looked pretty with the applique. Now the applique I just love. This is Esme's, but it came from a sale that she did that I purchased, and this was not in the design team box. It was something that I purchased. So that gives you an idea of things that she offers in her sales as well. But I just love how this is all luscious and layered and just so pretty and feminine. And I'll show you from the top. Look at how beautiful that is. And from the side with the beautiful satin ribbon and all of these layers of lace. And then the bottom the same way, just layers and layers of lace. I just think she turned out gorgeous. So I made a closure of some satin ribbon out of my stash, and then we will get into the book. So on this first page, I just tucked in a piece of lace trim that she had included in the design team box on this little card. This is a Lisa and Olive card, and this trim is absolutely gorgeous. And I just kind of attached it here with an embellished T-pin that I made, and I think that is so pretty. I love the little vintage ladies. And then I've got some vintage sewing ephemera. There's some pearl buttons and some more buttons in here. Beautiful, beautiful shimmery buttons, and then some vintage seam binding. And then this page, I used a vintage hanky to make the pockets. And I took the hanky, of course it was square, and I folded it over and then I folded it up, but I didn't fold it up all the way, so it created 4 different pockets. So you've got the back one, and then that layer, and then that layer, and then that top layer. And then I think this vintage linen is so soft and yummy. I just love how it feels. And then of course the lace around the hanky just kind of complemented the beautiful trims of Esme's. And then I wanted to add a little more layering here to this ruffly trim, so I used some dangle trim out of Esme's box. And this is like a ladder insertion trim, and I took a little piece, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but a little piece of thin lace, and I just wove it in and out of that insertion strip there to cover it so you don't just see the seam of the stitching down there. And then on this side, I made a curtain panel, a little curtain drape, and used some beautiful trim. This is some beautiful wide lace, and then some beautiful embroidered lace. And then I just took some thread and sheared the, oops, I just pulled that right off of there. I'll have to reattach. I just sheared it. Well, you can probably see it now. There's the thread. And I just sheared the thread, and we'll attach that back on there. That was not good. And then this little bling piece was in Esme's box as well. And then all of the beautiful trim here. And then I made you a little book. And I can't remember where I got this fabric, but I really like it. It's got the beautiful roses and the script on there. And because the book is really very neutral, I wanted to give it a little pop of color. And this really tied in with this beautiful applique on the front. I thought the roses together with this looked really pretty. So I just used some little snippets of lace that was left over from all the trimming around the edges. And then this little tiny applique was out of my stash. But this is Esme's trim here. And then I just closed the book with a little safety pin embellished with some pearls. And when we open it up, we have a little pair of beautiful sewing scissors. Actually, we'll leave those out a minute. And then this beautiful grungy piece of vintage measuring tape. I just love this. My sweet friend Deb sent this to me in a swap we did last Christmas, and I've been hoarding this because I had to have the perfect project, and I think that this is very fitting to include it in here. And then there's a little vintage thimble on this side in this pocket. And it's got some sweet little etching around the side. I think it's so sweet. And there's the lady's name inside, whoever it belonged to. And then I wanted to show you this. I've made the pocket out of this beautiful, beautiful lace, and then trimmed it with some beautiful trim from Esme's box, along with the lace. And then the skirt panel came with a vest panel. And the vest was lace, and of course the skirt was satin. So I wanted to tie those two pieces in together. Since I got them together, I thought that would be really nice to add a piece of each to the book. So that's what this is. So we'll put those little pieces back. Oops, where's my pocket? There we go. I love how that turned out. I think it's such a sweet little book. And the little thimble goes on that side. And then we just close her up and poke this through the little trim piece here. And I think it's so sweet. It's just the right amount of color. I think that's so pretty. And I love this beautiful bling piece. And then on this page, this is the second piece of lace out of my stash. It's very vintage. I think this one was even antique, if I'm not mistaken. And I just tied a little bow and put a little safety pin there and added 2 little vintage bobbins. I think that color is so luscious. I love that color. And then in the pocket was made out of a piece of wide lace that Esme sent in the box and then edged with that beautiful trim. And I put a vintage needle book inside. I'm obsessed with vintage sewing ephemera. I just love it. And this one was so cute. I love the beautiful inside. It's got some needles still left in there. This one still has some needles in there. These are all empty and that one's actually gone, but I just love the way it looks. Just so, so pretty. And then I put a picture of some pretty little vintage ladies in there, and I love how they're dressed in their beautiful hats and coats. I thought that was so pretty for a vintage sewing book. And then on this side, I made you a little pocket out of a applique that was in the design team box, and it's got these little dangle pearls, which I love. I am a pearl girl. If you follow me, you've heard me say that before. So I love the touch of pearls. And then I just layered all of the beautiful laces. I love to layer laces. Just give it so much depth. And there's that little bit of piece from my stash, and then all of these beautiful pieces here from Esme's box. I just love all of the layers. So, so pretty. And then I made you a little sample tag, and this was out of Esme's box, this beautiful trim. And I'm not sure if this is tatting or not, but it's so, so beautiful. I just love it. And I just put it on a little card and made a little topper and cut a piece of this out to make a little pull top on there and put some little bling on there. And just used a little digital. This is actually out of a kit I'm about to release. It'll be my second digital kit. I'm not really a digital designer, but I had a couple projects going on that I thought the kit would look cute with, so that's a sneak peek. But I just love that look. I just absolutely love that gorgeous, gorgeous vintagey look. This is so, so soft. That's one of my favorite pieces in the box. And then on this little card, I made you a little sample card of some trims that were in the box. And this is a butterfly trim. And I think it's so vintagey and pretty. Little kind of an eyelet trim, a cotton trim. And then this actually was from my last order that I ordered from Esme's sale. And it's some beautiful ribbon, and look at the detail on that beading. You can see the little bugle beads and the beautiful little sequins in there. It's just gorgeous. And then this beautiful trim that you'll see throughout the book. And I just tied a little tiny bow and used some little snippets of lace that were left over out of the crinkled seam binding there, and added one little piece of bling in the corner. And I left the little threads. I stitched everything in. All of the cards you'll see have been stitched in, so they can be taken apart so the pieces can be used in someone's project if they so wish. So I just think that's so pretty with the vintage wedding satin, and this was a vintage tablecloth here. And then we go to this page, and oh my goodness, I just love this page. For the center, I wanted to do something really special, and we'll take the pieces out so you can see the book. So this is a sample card with applique. This one came out of my stash, as did this one. This is a wedding applique piece, and then this was in Esme's box here. And then I used a little snippet off of the end there to top it off with some little pearls. And I just brought this applique around the back to give it a little visual interest. So I thought that was beautiful. And then this one is a little stitch sampler, and I used some bits and pieces that were left over from the trims on the book, and I made little different stitch samples. This one was actually on a piece of ribbon here that we tied the book with. And then this was a vintage wedding dress piece in satin. And then I love this one. You can see the little threads and the little scissors. I think that's so cute. And then this one has just row and row and row after the different stitches that are on my machine. And I think that's so cute, and I left it all shaggy and shabby. I think it's so pretty. And then on this side, I made you a little book out of that wedding vest fabric. And then this is the beautiful trim that we just saw on the sample card, this trim here. And I just love it. Oh my goodness, it's so soft. And then this was a piece of an applique, a really long applique, and we'll see this in a couple places too because I snipped it up. So I just attached that to the front. I thought it matched this trim so beautifully. And I left it plain on the back. Little seam binding tie for the closure. And inside are some pretty little buttons. And I put the buttons on with the little rusty safety pins. I always want to say paper clips, and they're not, they're safety pins. This one is actually a little charm. I thought that was cute. And then down here I just put a little rusty pin with a tiny little pearl and a little bling piece to kind of just finish it off. So I thought that was so cute. I just love all the pretty little buttons and the satin covered ones. So pretty. So look at this center page, y'all. Oh my gosh, it's so gorgeous. I just think it's so dreamy. I absolutely love it. That is a gorgeous big applique that was in Esme's box, and it was a little big for the side in its full form. So I cut these little roses off the top here. There was one on each side. They just kind of flopped around too much. So I thought they looked really cute down here, and it just kind of tied it all in together because you've got the one in the middle that's attached here and then those two on the side. And I think it is so cute. So that is just absolutely gorgeous on top of this vintage tablecloth. And then all of the layers of trims. Look at that beautiful trim there. I love that trim. And then this beautiful one all around the sides. And then it's this one. No, it's not. It's a different one. It's this one on the bottom. And this one was a beautiful scallop trim, and it was wide. So I kind of cut the length right there, and I flip-flopped it. So you've got some going on the top and some dangling down the bottom here. You'll see these kind of up on the top. And then I layered another trim on top of that, and then put the little snippets on there, and I just think it is absolutely beautiful. I could look at that spread all day long. I think it's so dreamy. And then we turn to this page, and we've got a little snippet of a wedding dress applique here, little pin with some little scissor charm. And then I've made a pocket out of another applique that was in the box, and I think that is so beautiful, just very neutral, and I just love that look. And then we've got another pretty picture of the ladies there. Looks like they're picnicking by a bridge. Look at how elegantly they're dressed. Beautiful dresses and their hats and their coats. I just love that. And then this is the other part, well, another section. There's still one more. This was attached to here, and I just dangled it down on the little lace sample card. And these are all of the laces that were used in creating the book. So all of Esme's laces. So there's that one, and this one, and this little snippet here, and then this beautiful one. I love this one. This is one of my favorites right here. It's so soft and delicate. I just absolutely think it's gorgeous. So you've got that sample card, and I just brought some little lace. I put a piece of lacy fabric that I had on the back of the card, and then I just brought it around for some visual interest. And then on this side we have some vintage pearl buttons and some beautiful trim of Esme's, and I think that trim is so gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. It's got the embroidered flowers in there and a scallop detail. And then I just kind of ruffled it up here a little bit and fastened it with another embellished T-pin that I made. And I love those cards with the vintage ladies. I think they're so fun. And then more of this dreamy, ruffly trim there. I just love it. It's so, so pretty. And then on the last page, we've got this beautiful applique, and I tucked in a piece of the trim that we've used throughout the book. I think that trim is so pretty. It's got that beautiful shimmery thread in there. And then I tucked you in a vintage hanky because I thought the lace on this hanky was so beautiful. I just thought it fitting to, look at how pretty that is. Oh, I just love it. I thought it was fitting to go in the little lacy sewing ephemera book. And every lady needs a beautiful hanky. One of the vintage ones, I think they're so gorgeous. And then that applique just makes a little tuck spot, so you could put all kinds of things in there. And then on this last page, I made a little snippet, a stitch sample. I just lost my words, y'all. This is the rest of that applique. So we had that piece, this piece, and that other little long piece. So that was a big long applique. It was absolutely beautiful. So I got 3 different projects out of that. So I made a little stitch sample on some vintage wedding fabric, made a little loop here with one of the pieces of Esme's trims, put the pretty applique on the bottom, and made you a pretty little stick pin there. And then it's just got the lacy fabric on the back. And I think that's so pretty. And then it lets you see that beautiful fabric and then the beautiful trims all around. So that is the book, y'all. I hope you enjoyed it. I think it was so pretty in the end. It turned out so, so pretty. I just absolutely love it. We'll tie it back up so you can see it again. I'll put all the things back in after we're done. I won't take up your time to refill it, but this will be in my Etsy shop. As soon as I get it all put back together, I'll go list it. But I just think it turned out so, so pretty. And Esme and Maggie, I cannot thank you enough for this opportunity. It was just a thrill and a dream, and I'm so grateful. And I hope you're pleased with what I came up with. I just wanted to do you proud and do something very special. And I just love the sewing ephemera and the soft fabrics and all the beautiful laces together. Again, there's all the beautiful trims. I just think it's so, so dreamy and pretty. From the bottom, you see it all too. Just all so gorgeous. I just love it. So stay tuned for more projects because I'm not finished yet. My month got away from me, and I just thought I'd get another couple done, and I've got them started. They're halfway finished and not quite there yet, so they will be upcoming. So stay tuned for that. But please, if you haven't already, go join Esme's group and see what she has to offer. And boy, you get so much inspiration in there. She's got so many talented group members as well as designers, You'll see the designers post in there that are on her team, and they make the most beautiful projects. So it was definitely an honor to be included as a guest, and it was a thrill for me, and I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you all for watching, and if you hit the like button and the subscribe button if you'd like to follow me, I would appreciate that. I'm getting close to 1,000, and at 1,000 I'll do a giveaway, which I'm really excited about. So I just thank you all so much, and Maggie and Esme, again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, and I hope you all are blessed. Thanks for watching.